Hello everybody, welcome back to Feldy. We are continuing, this is the 10th episode. Let me just hop around here to our equipment and get ready to continue the harvest, which is I believe where we left off. Actually, I seem to recall our harvester may even need some fuel. We'll just take a look at it here. Yeah, it's gonna need some sauce here in a little bit. Let me get him going. Have our tractor here all ready to go. It's amazing how quickly it runs out of fuel. I just filled it up here. Boy, there really seems to be something in the map, and I'm wondering if it's one of the mods that I'm using that just goes through the fuel like crazy. Let me head back the other way and go to my tractor in the field here. I'd like to get him going too. Let me first make sure this isn't deceiving me and turn off field detection. I think I remember this was it is off, right? We will see. We will see indeed. Lower. There we go. Yeah, it's behaving as normal. We'll at least take a circuit around the edge of this field. We'll get him hired and on his way. And then I wanted to share a couple things that I've been working on in the map. Oh, yeah. The downside of these here trees is you can drive right through them. There's no collisions, but that's also an upside too, because you can drive right through them. When you hire a vehicle, you don't have to babysit it as much. So I'm just gonna get this. Ooh, get over to the edge. I didn't get over there. Can't drive straight. It seems like it's harder to drive in the older versions of Farming Sim for some reason. And I still think it has something to do with the vehicle camera. And at some point, I want to talk a little about what I've tried to do with that. Maybe some of you even see a difference. Well, kind of. Maybe there isn't much of a difference at all. Shoot, I'm looking at this as I go, and it's like, oh my goodness, it still isn't as smooth as it is in later versions of Farming Sim. But oh my goodness, I can't hit the edge. Oh dear. I must have hit one of the magic numbers. No, it looks like it is there two switches to make this go? It's almost like there's a second one that turns it on. Wow, that is so wobbly. I'm so sorry. No? It appears... Okay, I guess it's staying off. Wow, what is my camera doing? This is not how I wanted to start off. I can't even drive a simple straight edge along this field. Maybe I should have just hired him from the get-go and let him figure out all the curves of the field. I think I'm going to get down here to the corner. I'm going to hire him and turn him loose. You know, I've noticed that every single time I drive over the grass, it seems to take it out. And I almost wonder in this older version if it's out permanently. I don't know that it'll grow back. Alright, so let me try to get it set at 180 as close as I can so it can... Whoop, hard to get it down. There, that's close enough. Alright, let me get rid of the AI course. I have no idea what was in there. But we're going to start it over. Please go straight. Very, very good. All right. Now, let me return to the harvest field. If I eventually get out there, I'm probably full. And fortunately, this isn't going to... I can run over the crop. Hold your nose. Oh, in real life, we would never do this. Why does it go down like that? There is something about these mods in here that are so floppy. Alright. Now that they're gone, the harvester's okay. Let's hop out of here just for a moment. I want to show some other things I've been working on. One that has actually proven to be quite a challenge is making a mod spreadsheet. This is something my friend Atomic67 told me not to do, but that's a whole nother story. I realize it's an old game, so... Oh, actually, you know what? I need to change this right here. Let me do a little edit. But I know maybe sometimes people look at this, the handful of you that may be interested in this kind of thing may wonder what mods are being used and where to get them, who made them, what version number, and any modifications to the mods that I may have made. So I'm trying to put that into a spreadsheet, but I gotta tell you, I mean, some of these older games, it can be really hard to find anymore, and I'm trying to put links in here. You know, this spreadsheet here will be linked up in the video description. And I do have a running series on Farm Sim 17 and 19. I even have one on 22. And it's going to take me forever and a day to compile all the data to put it in here if I ever get it done. But for those that might be interested in Farm Sim 11 and sites that still carry Farm Sim 11 mods, you can look here. You know, in some ways it's too bad that FSU UK is closed. It was open for a number of years through Farm Sim 17, maybe partially into 19, and then it was closed up for good. But it was an excellent repository of even some very old mods. I think going to Farm Sim 09 even it had mods available, so it's too bad when it was shuttered. But there are some other sites that still carry some of these old mods, and so I've linked them up here. You can go on to Mod Hoster. There's lots of them there available, and a few on some of these others as well. You know, I have the DLC packs installed. I have the Pro Farm mod installed. Some of you may remember that that's where we got the Riverside map, and a number of different tractors and combines, you know, that came with it. I can't really use the combines in here. I guess I could on the regular fruits, you know, but harvesting things like OSR, I couldn't use it on, you know, without further modification. But it's handy to have in there. I could use the tractors if I wished. And then just a number of items in here. The Feldy map itself is somewhere down in here. Yeah, there it is, the map. And I'm just trying to compile where I can find them. And I think I mentioned this before, I got permission from the map's author, Farmer Yip, to post the map and its mods on a couple sites. I think it wasn't a couple sites. I just chose to put it all on Mod Hoster. So, and really all you need is the map and the mods, and those are in 2 spots on Mod Hoster. Links are provided here. But like I say, I tell you what, it's a lot of work trying to put all these together, describe what they do, and you know, I've weeded a lot of them out in the process. Just got rid of, I just moved it to another folder. But I'm trying to find it, and you know, like this one here, this Bergman Shuttle 900K. I can't find it. I kind of think it came on the game installation disc, but I really don't know. But it's also interesting too, looking at some of these, just kind of as a historical note. You look at the DLCs. Those of us who were around at Farm Sim 11 days, there was the original game, and then the Giants came out with a few DLCs. And then of course there was the Pro Farm DLC, which came from somebody outside of Giants. I don't even know how to say that. I won't even say it. But when they created it, this was some far-reaching stuff. Farm Sim 11 was the first version that had multiplayer capability, but then they added, additional, not only equipment, but the second equipment pack brought in the BGA, kind of a feature that's been a part of Farming Sim ever since. And also you started to see a whole bunch of placeables. Who could have predicted that the placeable system would become very prominent, in later versions of Farming Sim, to where anymore you can practically build your own map just inside the game itself. Whereas back in the days of Farm Sim 11 and 15 and many of the older versions, the mapper did a lot of this work, and there wasn't so much in the way of placeable. It's just kind of interesting to see that this is really where they introduced the placeable, at least as far as I'm aware. So anyways, I've been just trying to build that. This is I have time. Let me head back in here. Oh yes, our harvester is stopped. And he is stopped because he be done with the field. Alright, let's head on up here. And our other guy is working good. He's taking care of the field, cultivating. Let me just zip on over. Yeah, I don't want to get in the header. I wonder why it's still turning. That must be something. Oh yeah, we're still on. We just couldn't hear it from the outside. Gotta remember the key bindings that work on the older version of the game here. Oh, and he's about out of sauce. We'll have just enough to get over here to this barley up the hill. And then I think I'm gonna refill it. Look at it. It just goes down as if it's got a hole in the tank. Well, maybe this is how quickly it uses it in real life. I don't know. Alright, let me go get myself the sauce. I really don't mind that it uses extra fuel, and I strongly suspect it is due to a mod or two that I have installed where the fuel consumption is higher when the tractor or combine is under load. So, alright. Yeah, that'll cost a little bit. I know there's a couple mods that I have in there, not only for the combine, but also for the tractors. When it's an idle versus under load, pulling cultivator, plow, whatever, it's going to use more fuel. It just costs money. Maybe while it's loading up, let me hop back out a game to share another thing I've been working on. Anybody that plays the game, I don't know if you're like me, as you dive into a map or a session, when you see things that you would rather were different, you sometimes want to just figure out a way to fix it. This is a copy of the map i3D file, and in the days of Farm Sim 11, there was something in here. Well, the new versions have it too. Foliage multi-layer, foliage sub-layer is kind of where all the fruits are stored. And so You have wheat, you have the variations of wheat, when it's cut short, when there's a windrow, grass, rape, barley, and so forth, and all the fruits in the map show up in here. And I have this open, not in the editor, but in Notepad++, with wrap on. There's one thing I want to draw attention to. Growth state time. In, I think, up until Farm Sim 17, the time spent in each state of crop was dictated by what was in the map's i3D file, growth state time. And also the number of states, you see over here, growth num states, is 5. What this means is your crop, wheat in this case, is going to have 5 different growth states. The first is when it's going to be planted, and you don't see anything. Then the second, third, and fourth are going to be varying stages of growth. So you'll see it get a little bit taller. And then finally, the fifth stage is going to be when it's harvested. So you can change the number of states each crop has in here by altering this. And then there's plenty of things in here we won't get into. This all dictates how it looks, how it grows, the channels that are selected in the editor to do various things, how it looks at a distance, and so forth and so on. But this is a number of states. This is the growth time per state. This 1.8 E plus 006 is actually what I believe is called scientific notation. It is 1.8 times 10 to the 6th power, 1 with 6 zeros. Growth state time, it's my understanding, is maintained in what's called milliseconds. I have no idea why the Giants use something that is so huge. 1.8 times 10 to the 6th is an enormous number, and it's in milliseconds. So if you want to figure out how long of a time period this is, you have to take this number, divide it by 1,000 to get the number of seconds, and divide it by 60 to get the number of minutes, and divide it by 60 again to get the number of hours. And this is how long each growth state lasts. So if you take the total here and multiply it by 5, which is the number of growth states, it'll be the approximate time that it takes for the crop from planting to when it's harvestable for the player in game. Well, what I was noticing is, even though this is an enormous number, it is still small by the time you do the math. So I threw it in a spreadsheet here, which I have. Let me see here. Actually, hide that just for the moment. So here's what it is. You just remember seeing this 1.8 E and then 6. So I got some factors up here. We know there's 5 growth states. Oh, and then there's another one that I learned by studying some of the code, that they tinker with the time in here based on your difficulty level, and we are playing on hard. So when you put in the scientific notation of this, here's a number that it is. 1.8 times 10 to the 6 is 1,800,000 milliseconds. That sounds like a huge number, but by the time you do the math, it isn't so large. Actually, well, let me just show what it would be without that. If I take this, divide it by 1,000, divide it by 60, divided by 60, it's half an hour. And so if you were playing this on the easy mode, it would only be half an hour per growth state. You plant it, and in half an hour in-game time, you would go to the next growth state, and then for all 5, it would take a mere 2.5 hours. And in some ways that makes sense. In real life we know it takes much longer, but in games, some people want to have a quick game. When they plant it, they want, by George, they want it to hurry up and get ready to be harvested. Well, I kind of wanted to slam the brakes a little bit, because I'd like to kind of harvest the whole map and do tillage on all of it, kind of treat it like a regular farm, try to do seasons if I can. And yeah, one other factor, the difficulty level. This is how it's applied. You would take this time and multiply it by the difficulty level. Easy is 1, normal is 2, and hard is 3. We're on hard, so it takes an hour and a half per growth state. But that's still a lot, and we've probably all that have played this version have had the annoying experience that when you start planting a field and you get to the end of, or when you get to the end of planting, you look back where you started, and sometimes I've had it before where it's already ready to harvest. That just never happens in real life. So I like to slow that down a little bit. So what I did is I added this here. I said, let's take 2 days for the whole thing, which is 48 hours. And then I ran the math backwards to get a totally different millisecond per growth state. And you look at 11.5 million versus 1.8 million. That's quite a bit higher, although I think this isn't adjusted for difficulty level. I guess it'd be 1,000,008 times 3. But it gave me new growth state times, which I then plugged into the version of the app that I have. So you'll see right here, 1.152 times 10 to the 7th. That is the number that I pulled out of here for wheat, and so forth. I basically made all of them the same except hedge. I don't want the hedge to grow very often. Basically what this is supposed to do is every 5 days or so, I'll have to cut the hedge. I mean, that seems a bit more reasonable. It was even a little bit longer, I think, in the original map, but still, every 7.5 hours, you're basically cutting your hedge daily. And there's so much to do in this map. I just didn't want to take up more time than I had to cut the hedge. So I took all that data, I carefully brought it in here, and you gotta be very careful when you're editing this in a text editor. Matter of fact, if you ever do it, I would recommend that you leave it open after you hit save, and then try to open the map in the editor. And if it opens in the editor, you're probably okay. If it refuses to open in the editor, then you know you made an error in here. All you have to do is forget the quote, and this map probably won't even open. So it's very detail sensitive in here. So I've just learned the hard way that if you don't want to screw up your whole map, you know, when you mess around in here inside the text, because there are thousands of, I mean, look at this, line number 563,704. And if you mess up a single line, it can mess up the whole map and all the hard work, you know, that someone's put into it. So I always leave it open, and that way I know I can fix something, or I got this handy undo button up here where I can go back to kind of where it was before. And always have backups, you know, as you progress through it. Otherwise, you just pay through the nose having to redo things. Anyway, let's hop back in here. Look at that. We're gonna just, we don't need that. I think we probably should, yeah, see, there is kind of a ridge of ground right up there. Let's just take a loop. We'll get this going and start harvesting our barley. And as you see, I didn't do a very good job. I know I described this in another video. You see underneath the combine, you see the planted texture. The original version of the map didn't have it. What it had instead was this dirt in the whole field. And I remember when I first played this map, I was so confused because I harvested the field, and then when I brought in the cultivator and tractor and attempted to hire it to get the work done, it wouldn't do it. it kept stopping. It just refused to budge, and finally, it took me forever to figure this out. But the reason is because it underneath the crop, Farmer Yip only had dirt, which was cultivated already. So even though it was barley stubble to the game engine, it understood it as cultivated texture. So that's I just came in and fixed it this time around. Had to do a bunch of extra work inside the map, and I did this on all the fields. I just added in the planted texture so that when I bring in the cultivator to take out this field, now I can hire it because it's going to be over the top of non-cultivated texture. Hope that makes sense. Like I say, I remembered going through that when I played this a long time ago, and so just wanted to prevent it this time around. And you kind of see, or hopefully you can see, well, there is a difference, and maybe in the next episode I'll show a little bit more. I think my time is getting down on this one to be able to show it. Some of the changes I made in the vehicle camera, but you can probably start to see it. Well, you can't really see it on the flat. I badly wanted to smooth it out, and shoot, if we're driving those tractors down there, it doesn't seem to have made much difference. And I think some of it, they're so loosey-goosey that they just throw you kind of your camera up and down a little bit, and you can't help but move it around. But I'm trying to smooth it out a little bit. So, just taking the opening cut on this field, and I'm almost halfway full. I'll probably make it. I do think, I think I've mentioned before, Farmer Yip didn't, in the original version of the map, he didn't make these fields fertilized. We could have, I suppose, come in here with a fertilizer spreader and put that down. It would really help. So when this field is fertilized, I don't know that we'll be able to harvest all the way around it. Whether we do or don't, it doesn't matter. I'm just explaining why it seems so slow to fill up. So, and probably in real life, that may not be that unrealistic. I don't know. All depends on how heavy of a crop you have. But we're going to take what we can get. And, we didn't really review the mission we're on. Mission number 2, we're kind of in the mode of selling some cash crops to earn some money to buy some more equipment. We do have a line of credit, and that's where we have some cash. Oh, and if I remember correctly, this is a bear to harvest along here. Yeah, we're kind of fighting with the edge of the field there. That's alright. Just adds a little extra challenge. What the world? That almost looks like that's some red clover in there for some reason. Oh, I don't know how that got there. It's just climbing up the side of this hill here. It's a little bit rough trying to... Oh, yeah, look at that. It's trying to suck the combine right on down into the road. Let's see if I can... I gotta crab walk the thing kind of down around. There we go. I think this will be a little bit easier now that we have the outer edge done. Yeah, I don't know what that green item there is either. Almost looks like barley at a different growth stage. Or maybe it isn't barley at all. Maybe it's potatoes. I don't know what it's doing in there, but we'll try to... Probably when we come through the cultivator, it'll take care of it. Speaking of cultivator, looks like our guy is done with the field over there. So now I'm wondering, can I hire this dude? Okay, now look at the shape. Oop. Maybe this will work. I feel like I probably should go clear to the other end of the field, but it may be enough. Oh, we're saved by the bell. That's the timer that my friend Atomic 67 gave me to help me know when 30 minutes was up. So I didn't bore people for any longer than that. So what I probably want to do here when I come back is that take me straight up? That looks straight up. So I'm going to get him going there. And we'll continue harvesting this here. But for the moment, thank you so much for coming along. I really appreciate you stopping by to visit this very unique map. We're trying to give it the good old college try, harvesting some cash crops, get some equipment, and hopefully then be able to fulfill a mission and go further on the Feldy map. So with that, I'll let you go for now. Have a wonderful day wherever you're at. Goodbye for now.